So the today's topic is context API. What is a context API? Context API is a way of sharing not state, I would say, but data or props across many component, and it's used when there is a complex forward chain. Okay, how? What do you mean by complex forward chain? Suppose you have a app component. In app component, you have three other components: header, dashboard, and content. And then in dashboard, you have another component called dashboard child. So header, dashboard, and dashboard child each has to access some data from content. So how we will share the data? Normally if we use props, we will share it to first. Suppose I am doing something in dashboard child, then I need to trigger something in dashboard child. I need to send it to dashboard will send it to app.js, then app.js will send it to content.js, which creates such a long complex chain, and we can avoid it if we use context API. How to use context API? There are three parts of implementation of context API. First is to create. We need to create that context API. Second, we need to provide that context API. We have to provide. When we provide that context, it can be accessible not only to that component but the child of that component also. Then we need to consume that API. So suppose whatever the component you want to access that context, that will use consume. This is the implementation part of context API. I'll show you a demo how it is done and what are the benefits of that. Now next is limitation. Why you should, in what scenario you should avoid context API. First is when there is a high frequency of changes. Suppose like in a millisecond there are 1,000 times that content is being rendered, then you should not do it. Okay, there is another way in Redux you can use it, which we will learn later. And for general purpose component, what is a general purpose component? Like button, input field is there. You should not use context API because it will limit that to a particular business logic. Okay, suppose if you create a button using a context API, then it will do only one thing. Either it can change the value of a certain variable or something, but it won't be able to submit the form or do something else. So you should not use context API for the general purpose component as well. To understand the concept of context API, I have created a demo project. Basically, it's a content component, or you can call it container component, and it has one variable whose state will be changed using other component events. Suppose if I'm in header has a button, and if I click that header will send that, look, I am triggering this event from header. Same goes for dashboard and for dashboard child also. So I have achieved this using props, simple props, nothing very fancy, no context API I have used. And I'll show you the code, how it's look. So first I'll show you app.js. In this I am calling three component: header, dashboard, content. I am writing the set state management logic in app.js only. Then I'll show you the content.js. Content.js will get a prop, and props content value you will get. Okay. Then I'll show you the header. In header, on click of update content will send the data to app.js, and from app.js again I will send the data to content. Okay. In dashboard also same thing will happen. From dashboard I will send the data to app.js, which will send it to content js. And again I want to access that method, so again I'll pass that method as a prop to dashboard child, and then dashboard child again will call this method using props and send the data to dashboard.js, then from dashboard.js to app.js. Now if you can imagine the flow of it, the data is going for, suppose, dashboard child, from dashboard child to dashboard, then to app.js, then again from app.js it is going to content.js. To avoid all these things, we will use context API, so that it will happen two things. First, I won't be using props to send the data. Second thing is, my app.js should not contain too much logic. Okay, here I'm changing this state, I'm doing the state management, which is not correct, so it will also solve this problem. So let's just see how it can be done. I have implemented context API. I'll show you. It's working. It is working the same thing. I'll show you how I have created that. Okay, first I created a folder called store. In store I have created a file called content store.js. Okay, I think it should be context, so the naming is wrong, but you can it should not be content, it should be context. Okay, so second thing I did, first thing we need to create the context. We can create the context using React create context. In that we have to send a object which will be accessible to all the component where we are injecting that. So I am sending an object with a variable val. Val will be the value which we will be sending. Update content value will be used to set that value on the event change. Okay, this is how we created our context. Okay, now since we have created our context, we have to write the code to provide it. Okay, so this is the code for providing the context. First I have created a variable to manage the state. So content value will be the content which will be getting from the other component, and set content value will be the method which will update on the event trigger. I am using use state to manipulate the value. Update val will be the method which is used to set the content value. It will return a JSX context.provider. Context is the same context which we are using here, and it should also have a value. Value is the keyword, it needs to return that, and in that I am sending the value, and in that I'm sending the object which is same as what I have created in the context. Okay, val and update content val. Val value will be our content value, and update content val will be our method which will be update that content value. Okay, now we have created the context, we have provided the context, we have to now inject the context, and now you will see how much cleaner our app.js has become. Okay, so as you can see, I am not sending any props anywhere. No props is there. I have imported context provider, and in context provider I have put header, dashboard and content. So all these three and their children will be able to access this context store. Okay, so I have created the context, provided the context, injected the context. Now I will listen or consume that context. I'll show I have done it using two ways. First is using context consumer. So first you need to import context, then you need to write context consumer in a tag, which will have a function. Okay, and in this function you will write a logic and you need to return your JSX part. Okay, uh, that's one way to do it. Second way to do it is using use context. So first you need to import this use context, then you need to declare it. I have declared it using use ctx use context, and wherever you are using props, use this. Okay, and ctx dot value will be the same what you have declared here in the provider. Okay, so be very sure what you're providing, and make sure that it matches well. Okay, then you do that, and yes, we are done. We have implemented context API.